Baba Vanga, the blind prophet who saw everything. What if I told you that a blind Bulgarian woman who lost her sight at age 12 could see further into the future than any living person? Before you scroll away, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Because today we're diving into forbidden prophecies of Baba Vanga, predictions so accurate and terrifying that communist regimes try to silence them. Give this video a thumbs up if you're ready to discover what she saw coming in 2024 that has world leaders genuinely concerned. The mystic behind the Iron Curtain. In the shadow of Bulgaria's Koza mountain range, in a small house that seemed frozen in time, lived perhaps the most extraordinary woman of the 20th century, Vangelia Pandiva Dimitrova, known to the world as Baba Vanga, was more than just a fortune teller. She was a phenomenon that the communist government couldn't explain, couldn't control, and ultimately couldn't ignore. Born in 1911, Vanga's life took a dramatic turn when she was just 12 years old. During a violent tornado that swept through her village, she was lifted into the air and thrown into a field, her eyes filled with sand and debris. When the storm passed, young Vanga had lost her physical sight forever. But as her eyes closed in the physical world, something far more extraordinary opened. A window to the future that would make her the most consulted prophet of modern times. What makes Baba Vanga's story truly chilling isn't just her alleged ability to see the future, but how accurately she predicted some of the most significant events of our time, from the dissolution of the Soviet Union to the 9/11 attacks, from natural disasters to political upheavals. Her prophecies have come true with an accuracy rate that defies statistical probability. And now, as we navigate through 2024, her most controversial predictions are beginning to unfold before our very eyes. The regime's secret visitor. Here's where the story becomes truly fascinating and sinister. Despite living under one of the most atheistic and scientifically materialistic regimes in history, Baba Vanga received an unexpected visitor in the 1970s. Todor Zhivkov, the communist leader of Bulgaria himself. This wasn't a casual social call. Zhivkov, like many powerful leaders throughout history, was desperate to glimpse into the future, to understand what lay ahead for his regime and his country. The meeting was shrouded in secrecy, but witnesses later revealed that Zhivkov left Vanga's humble home visibly shaken. What did she tell him? According to leaked documents that emerged decades later, Vanga had predicted the exact year of communism's collapse in Eastern Europe, 1989. She warned him that his ideology would crumble like a house of cards, that the Berlin Wall would fall, and that the Soviet Union itself would dissolve into fragments. But here's the truly remarkable part. She didn't stop at political predictions. Vanga allegedly told Zhivkov about technological advances that seemed impossible at the time, a global network that would connect all humanity, pocket devices that would hold the world's knowledge, and machines that could think like humans. Today, we call these the internet, smartphones, and artificial intelligence. The communist authorities face a dilemma. How do you suppress a prophet whose predictions keep coming true? How do you silence someone who has become a beacon of hope for millions of people living under oppression? They tried various approaches. First attempting to discredit her, then trying to co-opt her abilities for state purposes, and finally settling on a policy of controlled tolerance while secretly documenting every prediction she made. Prophecies that shook the world. Let's examine some of Baba Vanga's most startling predictions that have already come to pass, because understanding her track record is crucial to comprehending why her 2024 prophecies are causing such concern among global intelligence agencies. In 1980, Vanga predicted that Kursk will be covered with water and the whole world will weep over it. 20 years later, in August 2000, the Russian nuclear submarine Kursk sank in the Barents Sea, killing all 118 crew members aboard. The precision of his prediction, mentioning the specific name Kursk decades before the tragedy, sent shockwaves through the Russian military establishment. Perhaps even more chilling was her prediction about American brethren falling after being attacked by steel birds. She said this would happen after the 15th year of the new century had passed, which places around 2001. On September 11, 2001, exactly as she predicted, the Twin Towers fell after being struck by hijacked commercial aircraft, the steel birds of her vision. But Vanga's prophecies weren't limited to disasters. She correctly predicted Barack Obama's presidency, stating that the 44th president of the United States will be African American and will be the last truly effective president. She foresaw the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, describing a huge wave that will cover a big coast with people and towns, and everything will disappear underwater. What's particularly unsettling about these predictions is their specificity and timeline accuracy. This wasn't the vague fortune-telling we're accustomed to. These were precise, dated predictions that materialized exactly as described. The 2024 prophecies, what she saw coming. Now we arrive at the heart of why Baba Vanga's name is trending again in 2024. Before her death in 1996, she left behind a series of predictions specifically for this year that are both fascinating and terrifying. Intelligence agencies across Europe and North America have reportedly been studying these prophecies, trying to determine if there's any credible threat assessment value in them. Her first major prediction for 2024 involves what she described as a great trial for Europe, specifically mentioning terrorist attacks that would shake the European Union to its core. She spoke of men from the desert bringing fire to the heart of the old continent, with particular focus on attacks that would target major transportation hubs and government buildings. Given the current geopolitical climate and the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East, this prediction has intelligence services on high alert. But perhaps her most controversial and politically sensitive prediction for 2024 concerns Vladimir Putin. According to documents that were classified for decades and only recently leaked through diplomatic channels, Vanga predicted that the man who brought back the bear's strength would face the ultimate betrayal from within his own den. She described an assassination attempt that would come not from foreign enemies, but from those closest to him, members of his own inner circle who would turn the sword against the master. This prediction has allegedly caused significant paranoia within the Kremlin, with multiple reports of Putin increasing his security detail and conducting extensive background checks on his closest advisors. Whether you believe in prophecy or not, the fact that these predictions are influencing real-world political decisions makes them newsworthy in themselves. Vanga also predicted significant economic upheaval for 2024, describing the Great Currency War, where traditional money would lose its power and new forms of exchange would emerge. This seems to align remarkably well with the current discussions around digital currencies, the potential collapse of the dollar as the world's reserve currency, and the economic warfare we're seeing between major global powers. The science behind the sight. What makes Baba Vanga's story even more compelling is the scientific community's attempts to explain her abilities. Dr. Georgiev, a neuroscientist who studied Vanga's case files in the 1980s, proposed that her traumatic eye injury might have triggered a form of synesthesia, a neurological condition where stimulation of one sensory pathway leads to involuntary experiences in another. This theory suggests that when Vanga lost her physical sight, her brain compensated by developing extraordinary sensitivity to electromagnetic fields, microexpressions, and environmental cues that most people can't perceive. Some researchers believe she may have developed an extreme form of pattern recognition, allowing her to predict future events based on subtle current indicators that escaped everyone else's notice. However, this scientific explanation doesn't account for the incredible specificity and temporal accuracy of her predictions. How could pattern recognition alone explain her ability to predict the exact name Kursk 20 years before a submarine disaster, or her description of steel birds attacking American brothers decades before September 11th? Recent studies in quantum physics have introduced concepts like quantum entanglement and nonlinear time perception that some researchers believe might explain prophetic abilities. The idea that consciousness might access information across different temporal dimensions is no longer purely in the realm of science fiction. It's being seriously studied in laboratories around the world. Global impact and modern relevance. The influence of Baba Vanga's predictions extends far beyond academic curiosity or entertainment value. Her prophecies have reportedly influenced political decisions, military strategies, and even economic policies across multiple countries. When she predicted natural disasters, governments have quietly increased their emergency preparedness in the regions she identified. When she warned about political upheavals, intelligence agencies have intensified their monitoring of potential threats. In 2024, we're seeing this influence play out in real time. European security agencies have increased their terror threat levels, partly based on the alignment between current intelligence and Vanga's predictions about attacks on European soil. The prediction about Putin has led to noticeable changes in Russian diplomatic behavior and internal security measures. But it's not just governments paying attention. Financial markets have shown subtle reactions to Vanga-related news, with certain sectors experiencing volatility when her economic predictions gain media attention. Cryptocurrency markets, in particular, have seen unusual trading patterns whenever her predictions about new forms of exchange are discussed in financial media. The controversy and criticism. Of course, Baba Vanga's legacy is not without controversy. Skeptics point out that many of her predictions were vague enough to be interpreted in multiple ways, and that the ones we remember are primarily the ones that seem to come true. They argue that confirmation bias plays a huge role in how we interpret her prophecies, with people finding ways to make her words fit subsequent events. Critics also note that many of her predictions were recorded by others rather than directly documented by Vanga herself, raising questions about accuracy and potential embellishment over time. The communist regime's secrecy around her predictions makes it difficult to verify exactly what she said and when she said it. However, even the most ardent skeptics struggle to explain away some of her most specific and accurate predictions. The Kursk submarine disaster, the 9/11 attacks, and the timing of communism's collapse in Eastern Europe all showed a level of specificity that goes beyond lucky guessing or vague fortune-telling. What this means for us today, as we progress through 2024, the question isn't necessarily whether we should believe in Baba Vanga's prophetic abilities, but rather what we can learn from the patterns she identified. Whether through supernatural insight or extraordinary pattern recognition, she seemed to understand something fundamental about the cyclical nature of history and human behavior. Her predictions often focus on the consequences of political arrogance, environmental destruction, and social inequality, themes that remain painfully relevant today. Perhaps the real value of studying her prophecies lies not in their predictive accuracy, but in their ability to help us recognize the warning signs of impending crises. If we take her 2024 predictions seriously, not as inevitable fate, but as potential outcomes based on current trajectories, they serve as a wake-up call for increased vigilance, better international cooperation, and more proactive crisis prevention. The legacy continues. Today, Baba Vanga's house in Rupite, Bulgaria, remains a pilgrimage site for thousands of visitors each year. Her grave is covered with flowers and letters from people seeking guidance, hope, or simply trying to understand the mysteries of existence. The communist regime that once tried to suppress her message is long gone, but her influence continues to grow. Modern technology has amplified her reach in ways she never could have imagined. Her predictions circulate instantly across social media, are analyzed by AI algorithms, and influence global conversations about everything from geopolitics to personal decision-making. Whether you view Baba Vanga as a genuine prophet, a highly intuitive pattern analyst, or simply a fascinating historical figure, Her story raises profound questions about the nature of time, consciousness, and human potential in an age of artificial intelligence and quantum computing. Perhaps we're finally beginning to develop the tools necessary to understand abilities that previous generations could only marvel at or dismiss. The future she saw. As we stand in 2024, living to the very year that Baba Vanga identified as pivotal for humanity's future, we find ourselves in a unique position to evaluate her legacy in real time. Whether her remaining predictions for this year come to pass or not, her influence on how we think about the future, prepare for challenges, and understand the interconnectedness of global events is undeniable. The blind woman who could see everything has left us with more than just predictions. She's left us with a framework for understanding that the future is not fixed, but rather a collection of possibilities shaped by our current choices and actions. Her greatest prophecy might not be about specific events, but about humanity's potential to transcend its limitations and access forms of knowledge that conventional science is only beginning to understand. In a world facing unprecedented challenges, from climate change to geopolitical instability, from technological disruption to social upheaval, perhaps what we need most is not the ability to predict the future, but the wisdom to recognize the patterns that lead to both catastrophe and redemption. In that sense, Baba Vanga's true gift wasn't prophecy. It was insight into the eternal human struggle between darkness and light, destruction and renewal, fear and hope. As we continue through 2024, watching to see which of her predictions manifest and which fade into the realm of possibility, we're reminded that the future belongs not to those who can see it coming, but to those who are prepared to shape it. And perhaps that's the most important prophecy of all. What do you think about Baba Vanga's 2024 predictions? Have you noticed any of her prophecies starting to unfold in current events? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this deep dive into the world's most famous prophet fascinated you, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because we'll be following up with more investigations into her most controversial predictions. And if you want to support more content like this, hit that like button. It genuinely helps us reach more people who are curious about these incredible historical mysteries. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.